Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on, everybody? This is Joseph Conlon coming to you with your AEW Double or Nothing review. Oh boy, what a show. I just got to get that off the bat. What a show this was. But I was supposed to be joined by Eddie Mullins tonight. He was over for Double or Nothing. We had a great time. Pizza, wings, soda, having a great time watching the pay-per-view. He had to leave a little early because, at 18 years old, you can't drive past 11 o'clock at night. That's the law. So he left around 10:30. I FaceTimed him during the Standpede match, and we enjoyed the show overall. He could not be here tonight, but outside of a few things, which we'll talk about, I think it's pretty obvious what the few things were. Let me just fix this camera real quick. There we go. Outside of a few things I didn't like on the show, this was a awesome, and I mean awesome, pay-per-view from AEW. We got a lot of great things to cover tonight. I liked the Cody and Lance Archer match. Cody did win the TNT Championship. We will talk about the design of the TNT Championship. We'll also talk about the haters on social media who hate that Cody Rhodes won the TNT Championship. I got a message for you guys. If you're complaining that Cody won the TNT Championship, wait till you hear what I have to say. Hikaru Shiva and Nyla rose for the AEW Women's Championship in I thought was a fantastic no disqualification match, with Hikaru Shida winning the AEW Women's Championship, which a lot of people were surprised by. I, for one, was not surprised that she won. And then we got Jon Moxley, Brody Lee, which they killed each other. That match was phenomenal. And then the Stadium Stampede match to close it off. I mean, unbelievable. It was so entertaining, man. That match was so good. It was so fun, hilarious. I don't remember the last time I had so much fun watching a wrestling match. I was literally laughing the whole time. Seriously, I was laughing the entire time. Everybody in that match was phenomenal. And everybody in that match and the fans won the Stadium Stampede match. We'll talk about it here on tonight's review. But first, before we start the Double or Nothing review, I just want to talk about the situation that happened yesterday with Hana Kimura. Bullying sucks. Bullying is not okay. And if you bully on social media, and just bully in life, you're a piece of shit. You really are. If you bully people online and you like bullying, you're a piece of shit. You really are. She was 22 years old. She committed suicide from it. And I just want to put my thoughts and prayers out there for Hana Kimura. I'm not familiar with her. She's in the wrestling community. She's from Stardom. So I care about this a lot. Bullying sucks. So prayers and hopes go out to Hana Kimura and her family for her passing. 22 years old is way too young, man, for a passing. So I just wanted to get that out there. Let's talk about Double or Nothing. To save time, I'm not going to go over the buy-in match between the Private Party and the Best Friends. The match was really good. The Best Friends won as expected, and they are the next number one contenders for Adam Page and Kenny Omega's tag team titles. I'm thinking that's going to be a really good match, and Adam Page and Kenny Omega will retain the AEW tag team titles. When will the match happen? Could happen on Dynamite pretty soon, honestly. I don't think it's going to happen. If it's not this week, it'll be next week that the Best Friends get their shot at Adam Page and Kenny Omega. But we started off the main card with the Casino Ladder match, which I thought was going to start off the main card. And the first two guys to be in the ladder match was Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky of SCU, which I found very interesting. And then we saw Kip Sabian next. And then we saw, I'm trying to think of the order, Kip Sabian, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Colt Cabana, Joey Janela, Luchasaurus, and then the surprise entrant was Brian Cage. And the good moments of this match was the freaking face-off between Brian Cage and Luchasaurus. That was fantastic. I love that face-off. And I want to see a Brian Cage-Luchasaurus match. The moment where Darby was up trying to get the chip and Brian Cage came out with Taz, that was wonderful. We'll talk about that. Is that possibly going to be Darby Allin's first feud in AEW? And then the spot with Orange Cassidy and Joey Janela, where Joey Janela just gave him a white noise onto the big poker chip, which looked absolutely brutal. And then the Darby Allin skateboard spot when he was on top of the ladder holding on to the skateboard. Frankie Kazarian was on the ladder. He rolled out and Darby's skateboard went through the ladder and Darby hurt his knee. Besides that, I thought this match was very sloppy. A lot of unnecessary spots with Marco Stunt and the small ladder, Colt Cabana and Orange Cassidy. And I expected it to be a lot better. At the end of the day, it wasn't bad. It was okay, but it was not what I thought it was going to be. But that was the match. The result of Brian Cage winning, I thought at first if the surprise guy just came in and won the match, it's kind of unfair, but it really shows the fact that Brian Cage won the ladder match. It really shows that AEW has a ton of investment in Brian Cage already. This is his first match, and he won the ladder match. Taz is his manager. He told him to take out Darby Allin. Darby Allin took a brutal spot at the end too. Brian Cage laying Darby Allin on top of a ladder, and he threw him to the outside of the ring, and Darby's head hit the ladder. That looked absolutely brutal, man. That looks brutal. But Brian Cage, he got the poker chip. He is the number one contender, I think. I don't know if it's like a Money in the Bank, and you carry that chip around until you decide to cash in for a world title. But I'm going to go on and say Brian Cage is the number one contender for the World Championship. He's managed by Taz. I love that idea. I love that pairing Brian Cage with Taz. I think that is going to be great for Brian Cage. It gives something for Taz to do, and it sets up Darby Allin's first official feud in AEW with the teases of Darby Allin and Taz, backstage vignettes, backstage promos with Taz trying to talk with Darby Allin. Darby Allin wouldn't let him, and you know what? Taz was like, "F you. I'm going now. I'm getting my own guy, and we're gonna show you how it really is done." And Taz went out there. He got Brian Cage, and now Brian Cage is the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. And it sets up Brian Cage versus Darby Allin as Darby Allin's first official feud in AEW. I love it. I think it's great. I think this is going to be good television. It's going to benefit Darby Allin. It's going to benefit Taz, and it's going to benefit Brian Cage the most. I feel like this is a good first feud for Brian Cage, and it's a good first feud for Darby Allin, if you want to consider it. That is Darby Allin's first feud. So, we set up a new rivalry during this match. But overall, I thought the match was okay at best. We then saw a great match between Jungle Boy and MJF. He is better than you, and you know it. This match, in my opinion, topped the match they had on Dynamite back in February. That match was very good, and this match was much better. If you guys thought that MJF was just good on the microphone, he can't wrestle, he's soft, he proved you wrong tonight, man. MJF is the freaking future of AEW. Same with Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy impressed me a lot tonight. Jungle Boy put on a great match. He showed you he could go as a singles guy, and he's just as on a higher level as MJF is. But MJF got the roll-up win on Jungle Boy at the end, I guess protecting Jungle Boy a little bit. MJF won clean. MJF took a great Canadian Destroyer in the match. He then took a Poison Rana on the apron, and his head folded back on the apron. That looked brutal. That looked absolutely brutal. He looked knocked out, and then he won with a small package on Jungle Boy. MJF is your next AEW World Champion, folks. Get ready. Man is the future of All Elite Wrestling, for sure. This match was great overall. And probably MJF's best match in AEW so far in his career, and Jungle Boy's best match in AEW in his career as well. TNT Championship. Lance Archer, accompanied to the ring by Jake Roberts, versus Cody, who accompanied to the ring by Arn Anderson, with Mike Tyson presenting the TNT Championship. The TNT Championship is a red strap with silver plating, and Tony Schiavone said that because of COVID-19, they weren't able to finish their presentation of the TNT Championship, so it's not finished, and that's not the final set TNT Championship. But I was thinking that's good, because looking at it at first, I really wasn't a big fan of the title, but I mean, I can't really criticize it that much, because it's not the official title. If it was the official title, maybe I'd criticize it more than I am, but I'm not going to, because it's not the final touch. That's not the final championship. It's going to be presented back when everything gets back to normal. But Cody and Lance Archer. The match was good. The match was pretty good. Cody won at the end. Lance Archer was kicking his ass the entire match, just like I imagined this match to be. Cody was getting his ass kicked throughout the entire match. Jake Roberts got involved a lot with Cody, with Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson was teasing to get into it with Jake Roberts. Cody took a hell of a beating in this match. And then at the end, Mike Tyson... Jake Roberts was up on the apron. Ref was distracted. Arn Anderson hit Lance Archer in the knee. Referee Paul Turner came out and told Bryce Rensburg, hey, look, you didn't see this, but Arn Anderson just hit Lance Archer in the back of the knee. You got to get him out of here. So then they kicked out Arn, and they kicked out Jake Roberts. And Lance Archer kept looking at the stage for Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts came back with the snake. Mike Tyson came up on the stage. He took his shirt off. Jake Roberts went to the back. Lance Archer got distracted. Cody hit a crossroads. He hit another crossroads on Lance Archer. And Cody is the first ever TNT champion for All Elite Wrestling. good match, really good match, a good story with Lance Archer and Cody. Cody always tells his great story in matches that he's always in. But I would say out of all pay-per-view matches that Cody has had, this was probably my least favorite. Not because of the result. I just felt like there was something a little off with the match. I'm totally okay with the result, which I'm about to address next. But out of all Cody pay-per-view matches, this was probably my least favorite. Now, let's talk about Cody and Cody becoming the first TNT champion. In my opinion, I normally predicted that Cody was going to win the TNT Championship. At first, when I saw the brackets for the TNT Championship, I was like, it's going to be Cody and Lance Archer in the finals, and Lance Archer is going to win the TNT Championship. Yes, Cody and Lance Archer was in the finals, but then I was thinking, Cody needs this more than Lance Archer does. And Cody won. Why does Cody need the TNT Championship more than Lance Archer? Cody is one of the most selfless people in All Elite Wrestling. He's not selfish whatsoever. He's not Charlotte Flair, where she is selfish as hell. Cody has put over his brother in the Double or Nothing match. Shawn Spears look really good. Chris Jericho, MJF, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. He's made all these guys look good. And all we hear is that as people on social media just whining and complaining that Cody won the TNT Championship, which is honestly unnecessary. This brings me back to Adam Hangman Page versus Jericho at All Out for the World Championship. Do you want Adam Hangman Page as your first World Champion when no one knows him? Or do you want Chris Jericho to be your first TNT Champion who everybody knows, everybody is familiar with? And I mean, Chris Jericho is one of the most popular wrestlers in the world. Same here. Do you want Lance Archer as your first TNT Champion who no one really knows who Lance Archer is? Or do you want it to be Cody Rhodes, who everybody knows who Cody Rhodes is? Cody Rhodes is one of the executive vice presidents of AEW, and everybody loves Cody Rhodes. I think I'd rather go with Cody Rhodes. And you get more feuds with the TNT Championship out of Cody Rhodes than you do Lance Archer. We can see rivalries with Shawn Spears. Maybe not after what happened tonight. But Shawn Spears makes sense. Kip Sabian, Pac, Darby Allin, Brian Cage, Scorpio Sky, maybe Lance Archer and Cody do revisit this again, and we get a rematch down the line. But Cody, I feel like rightfully should have won the TNT Championship. He did win the TNT Championship. Lance Archer destroyed him throughout the entire match, and he got distracted at the end by Jake Roberts and the Arn Anderson and Mike Tyson stuff. Lance Archer, he looks good in defeat. He's still the Murder Hawk monster that we all know, and Lance Archer is going to come back stronger than ever, and he's going to run through the entire AEW roster and then get back to the top to that TNT Championship. So that's my thoughts on Cody and Lance Archer. Really good match, good story from Cody and Lance, and Cody winning the TNT Championship was the right result. After that, we saw Penelope Ford and Chris Statlander. I did not pay attention to this match. I was on my phone the entire time. I looked up. Chris Statlander hit the Big Bang Theory, and she won. There's nothing really to talk about in this match. And then Shawn Spears and Dustin Rhodes. I mean, this was embarrassing. This was a huge negative on the show. If you were gonna have the match be like this, then why even book the match? You know, this was shit. This was WWE main roster shit that they do on Monday and Friday. This sucked. Shawn Spears wrestled in his underwear. Dustin Rhodes pulled his pants down and was smacking his ass. It was not funny, it was not cool, and it was not necessary whatsoever. That's not AEW like. And Dustin Rhodes beat Shawn Spears. Who cares? Who cares? Moving on here, AEW Women's Championship, no disqualification match. Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. Pretty good spots here in this match. This was, I thought, a great no disqualification match, and ultimately one of the best AEW women's matches in a long time. I would say ever since the Nyla Rose Riho match from AEW Dynamite back in February. But in the beginning, we see Nyla Rose hitting Cheetah with the kendo stick in the head. Nyla Rose threw Hikaru Shida through a poker table, which I did not see throughout the entire night. So they just set that up during the match. And then they were fighting throughout the entire match on the outside. Most of the match, honestly. Shida did a running drop kick, I think it was, to Nyla Rose, who was on a poker chip. And it affected more when the poker chip fell flat, and that was the bigger bump for Nyla Rose. And then Nyla Rose powerbombed Shida in the ring and something like that. And then Shida hit a Falcon Arrow off the top rope, I believe, onto a kendo stick. And Nyla kicked out. And then Shida hit 2 running knees. And Hikaru Shida is the new AEW Women's Champion. This was a great match. A really great match. JR said this was going to be a very physical match. He was exactly right. The match was very physical. And it turned out to be one of my favorite matches of the night. It was probably top 3, I would say. Shida's the new women's champion. I think that is the right result, especially after the whole Hana Kimura situation. And I feel like it'd be just fitting for Hikaru Shida to become the AEW Women's Champion. She is the best women's wrestler, undoubtedly, in AEW right now. She's probably the hottest women's wrestler in the world right now, if we're going to be honest. She's been putting on great matches. She put on a really great no disqualification match with Nyla Rose. And it sucks that Nyla Rose really didn't get to do much with the AEW Women's Championship in her first one. But, you know, who's to say that she's not going to have another run at the championship? Of course, she's going to have another run at the championship. This is not going to be her only reign. She will be back holding the AEW Women's Championship, I think, sooner rather than later. But now it's Hikaru Shida's time. They can't kill her momentum, and I'm glad they gave her the championship. We then went to the AEW World Championship match with the Exalted One, Mr. Brody Lee, who came out with the Dark Order. And his gear looked great tonight. So we saw Mr. Brody Lee versus Jon Moxley. And this was a very physical match. It was scheduled to be a one-on-one match, but it was more like a no disqualification false count. It was like a false count anywhere match. But, I mean, I made a tweet earlier today about this match and saying how this was Brody Lee's most important match of his career. He gets to showcase what he can really do, and what WWE never let him do. He should have been in that WWE Championship match at WrestleMania with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, which he was not. And this was a huge showcase for Brody Lee in his first pay-per-view match in AEW for the World Championship. And he did not disappoint. He looked phenomenal in this match. Brody Lee looked great. He suplexed Moxley onto the barricade. Moxley back body dropped him into the table near the timekeeper area. They were just fighting in the crowd, fighting in the stands. It was more like a Falls Count Anywhere match than a singles match, if anything. And then they were fighting up on the stage. And Moxley threw a poker chip at Mr. Brody Lee and DDT'd him onto the DDT'd him onto the stage, and then they're standing on top of the steps. Moxley gives Brody Lee a paradigm shift, and they go through the stage. This spot was fantastic. This was the best spot in the match by far. Paradigm shift through the stage. Moxley gets back up. Referees are out there. And then Brody Lee gets back up. He's all busted open. His face is covered in red blood. He gets back in the ring. Moxley gives him a DDT. And Brody Lee kicked out at 1. Brody Lee kicked out at 1 after going through the stage with that paradigm shift. He takes another paradigm shift, and he kicked out at 1. He takes another paradigm shift again, kicks out at 2, and then Moxley puts him in a sleeper, and Brody Lee passes out, and Jon Moxley retains the AEW World Championship. This was freaking fantastic. This was the second best match of the night, in my opinion. These two lived up to the hype that not a lot of people were looking forward to this match. I was very hyped for this match, and I feel like at the end, people were proved wrong. This match was very, very physical, very chaotic. Mr. Brody Lee looked great in defeat. He passed out. He didn't even tap out. And the fact that he kicked out a 1 at the paradigm shift after he got paradigm shift through the stage, that was an unbelievable visual. Mr. Brody Lee does not lose anything from this match. He's still the leader of the Dark Order. He's still got one of the best gimmicks in AEW. And just like Lance Archer, Mr. Brody Lee is going to be okay after this match. Moxley, I'm sure, will move on to something else. Maybe a match with Brian Cage for the World Championship. But this match between Brody Lee and Jon Moxley is what should have happened with Jake Hager and Jon Moxley. I figured that AEW kind of told themselves that this match should have been what Jake Hager and Moxley wasn't. So we're gonna give them payback and just let them have a Falls Count Anywhere match. Because Hager and Moxley was very disappointing. And I feel like this was our due for we put on a bad match for you guys. We're giving you this. This is a Falls Count Anywhere match. Here you go. And they delivered big time. Main event. Inner Circle versus The Elite in a stadium Stampede match. The Inner Circle did entrances like a football team would. They had football jerseys on and pants. The Elite wore their normal attires. Hangman Page did not come out. The Bucks was like, where's Hangman? Where's Hangman? Kenny Omega was like all confident. And then they run into the middle of the field. And I believe Kenny Omega smashes the trash can over Sammy G's head. Sammy G took an absolute beating. in this match if I have ever seen one. And then, all of a sudden, Sammy G is up. Hangman shows up with a horse. Sammy G and Hangman, with his horse, is chasing Sammy G. This was absolutely hilarious. We got a spot where where the Young Bucks and Santana and Ortiz are fighting in the ring. Then we go where the teams are separated. You got the Bucks, Jericho, and Sammy G on one side. Matt Jackson did a backflip off the goalpost to Sammy Guevara. Yes, Matt Jackson is a maniac, folks. And then Santana and Ortiz, Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega, they're going their own separate ways. They fight in the upper level. Santana and Ortiz powerbomb Kenny Omega through a guardrail on the outs, connected to chairs. They then throw Matt Hardy into the pool. They go in the pool with Matt Hardy. They're drowning Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy would show up as Extreme Matt Hardy. Then they would drown Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy would show up as another character. And then they would drown Matt Hardy, and Broken Matt Hardy showed up again. That was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. And then Matt Hardy drowned, put them down in the water. Matt Hardy tied up Ortiz to a wheelchair with duct tape, and he put Santana in a ice machine. So there goes Santana and Ortiz for that match. But my favorite part of the match was the spots with Adam Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, and Jake Hager. You cannot believe how much I died during this spot. So, Hangman Page is in the bar. He's having himself a drink. Jake Hager shows up, and he sits next to him. And he says, I don't know if you're here to have a fight or a drink. And then Jake Hager takes a glass, and Hangman Page and Jake Hager are just sitting there having a drink. And I was just laughing my ass off. This was everything for me. I was just sitting there laughing my ass off so much. And then they started fighting, and they were fighting on the pool table, and Kenny Omega then showed up, and Kenny Omega smashed a glass bottle on Jake Hager's head, and Jake Hager resisted, and then they smashed about 5 glass bottles on Jake Hager's head. Kenny Omega hit a V-trigger, and then they threw Jake Hager over the bar table. That was the best. That was my favorite part of the match right there. That spot with Omega, Hangman, and Jake Hager. Then we finish it off on the football field with Matt Jackson giving Sammy G suplexes 100 yards from the football field. Nick Jackson and Jericho going at it. The mascot, the Jaguars mascot. I had laughed my ass off doing this too. The Jaguars mascot was showing up with Jericho, and Jericho gave a mascot a Judas effect. I would not be surprised if that is made a T-shirt on AEWshop.com. Then Jericho gives one of the Bucks, I think, a Judas effect, and they kick out, and they got a replay booth, and Jericho's like, I want a replay. So then he goes in there with Aubrey Edwards, they check the replay, and she's like, he kicked out at 2. He's like, you're a liar, you're the worst referee, you son of a bitch. Something like that. And Matt Jackson super kicks Jericho, and they Nick Jackson ran down from the stairs and gave him a splash. Running down from the stairs was kind of unnecessary. I found that spot not to be that good. And in the closing moments, Sammy G was all by himself. He thought he won, and the water sprinkler shot up at him, and he turned around with Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega on a golf cart, So they sprinted at Sammy G. Sammy G did a full 100-meter dash. He got up in the stands running away from Omega. He got away from Omega for a little bit. Then Matt Hardy caught him. And Omega gave him a V-trigger. Then Omega gave Sammy G a one-winged angel onto a gigantic box of cardboard. And that was the match. Unbelievable. That match was entertaining as hell. I had great laughs in this match. This was probably, and I know the WWE shills are going to be attacking me for this one. This was the best, I guess, the series of cinematic matches that you call it. This was the best one so far throughout the entire pandemic. Better than the Boneyard match. I'm telling you right now. Stadium Stampede was better than the Boneyard match. And overall, besides a few things, this pay-per-view was awesome. And AEW delivered a great pay-per-view once again. It is 12:30. And I'm getting out of here. Because I got to upload this. And I'm at 36 minutes. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you haven't already, subscribe right here on the Big Fight Field channel for a new fresh week of content next week. Comment down below what you thought of AEW Double or Nothing. If you thought this pay-per-view was awesome, hit that thumbs up. Because I thought this show was awesome tonight. Follow me on Twitter at Colin_Joseph and Instagram at Colin_Joseph. Follow Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mullins515. I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys Monday on Monday Night Raw Review. Good night. Stay safe.